It's very nice to welcome you here today at the event organized by Europe Direct Bucharest in partnership with Europe Direct Gdansk and the Civitas University in Warsaw on the theme of the European Union through youngsters' eyes. Today we will be focusing our interventions on seeing which are the approaches that young people from Romania and from Poland have in regards to the European Union, but also in a broader sense of the EU's role in the global stage. We also have a special guest here today with us, Dr. Carrie Longhurst, who is a Jean Monnet professor at the Civitas University, who will be delivering a keynote speech. But before starting with, let's say, our thematic approach today, let me give you some details on the situation of young people in the European Union, as based on the EU Youth Report for 2024, which was released recently in April. So currently we have 73 million young people who live in the EU, and we could say that 16% of young people, people who live in EU, are between 15 and 29 years old. In terms of youth participation, we have over 70% of young Europeans that declared to have voted in recent elections, and we had elections both in Romania and in Poland, and last year we also had European elections. And almost 60% of young Europeans, so the age 15 to 24 years old, trust and have a positive perception of the European Union. In terms of youth mobility, we have 43% of young people who participated in one or more activities in another EU member state. And one of the main reasons for taking part in youth mobility opportunities lies in a stronger awareness of the other cultures and values, increased interest in foreign languages, and also increased self-confidence. However, we are not living, let's say, in an ideal world, and there are also reasons for which young people do not participate in activities in other EU member states. The first reasons in this case are represented by the lack of financial means, the lack of interest, and the lack of information regarding the possibilities to go abroad. And lastly, one piece of information that I would like to bring to your attention today is that many young people, so 15 to 24 years old, are aware of being exposed to disinformation and fake news. 37% of young Europeans say that sometimes they are being exposed to disinformation and fake news. So today we will be discussing about the attitudes, about the approaches that are in Romania and in Poland. And with this, I would like to invite my colleague Adela Mustață, who is the coordinator of the Europe Direct Bucharest, to offer us the welcome address. Adela, you have the floor.
Thank you, Eliza. Hello and a warm welcome to everyone. My name is Adela Mustață and I am the coordinator of the Europe Bucharest Center, a communication project of the European Commission hosted by the European Institute of Romania. Our mission is to inform and engage citizens in a constant and meaningful dialogue about the European Union and its future. Today, we are pleased to welcome you to a new event in the Europe in the Spotlight series entitled The European Union Through Youngsters' Eyes, organized in collaboration with Europe Direct Gdansk and Civitas University in Warsaw. Young people play a crucial role in shaping the future of our societies and the European Union itself. Their vision, energy, and involvement are essential for building a more inclusive, resilient, and forward-looking Europe. This is why their voices must be heard, especially when discussing the path the European Union is taking. We would like to extend our sincere thanks to our partners for their collaboration, to Eliza for moderating today's discussion, and to all of you for accepting our invitation. Feel free to share your thoughts. We hope to see many of you active in the comment section. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adela, for offering us the welcome address. And further on, I would like to invite Dr. Carrie Longhurst, who is a Jean Monnet professor at Civitas University, and I would say one of the best experts that we have on European enlargement, to give us a keynote speech.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me. It's always great to cooperate with you, and I'm happy to see that some of my students are here, and so I think this is a really worthwhile event to hold. And yeah, Poland is again in the headlines. We've got the EU presidency. We've also got the second round of our presidential elections around the corner. So I think once again, Poland is a kind of microcosm of a lot of the issues and debates which are important at the European level. So when I was putting together some thoughts here, and I won't talk for too long, I was trying to think about how it was when I was an undergraduate student and I was studying European studies in the UK, when the UK was an EU member state, and when the UK was a fairly cautious yet pro European EU country, and definitely the UK was behind Romania's EU membership back in the 2000s. So what were the issues seen by young people at the time when I was an undergraduate student when it came to European integration? Well, what we were concerned about then are a number of things that aren't problematic now. So back then we were concerned about completing the internal market. We were concerning ourselves with setting up the Schengen zone, so the passport-less free zone with the external border. We were also interested in climate issues, and the EC should become a kind of superpower in terms of climate and energy. And we were concerned about security. We were concerned about the end of the Cold War. So that was the kind of landscape of issues that we were considering then. Then I started to think about, well, what are the issues which are relevant now? What are the themes and issues which are concerning to us at a kind of intergenerational level? The recurring European problems, the new kind of European problems. And I also have a different take on this now because I'm not an EU citizen anymore. And so my perception of lots of EU issues are kind of shaped by kind of personal losses as well, let's say. I think, okay, so my first point is, when we talk about these issues, I think we have to think a bit more clearly about when it's the EU's job to do something and when it's the responsibility of the member states. I think sometimes we might try and push the problems away towards the European Union and say the European Union should be doing more in this. But in so many walks of life, so many policy competence areas, the member states are responsible. So we shouldn't always seek for solutions first and foremost from the European level. Then I was thinking about internal issues in European integration, which are problematic or discussion points, and external issues. Now, when it comes to internal issues, I think there are two. The first one is to do with the rule of law. Thankfully, I think Romania made the good choice the other weekend, and you've kind of thrown your backs back into the European project. But we see in Slovakia, we see in Hungary how easy it is for leaders to almost hijack their countries away from the rule of law towards democratic backsliding and autocratic tendencies. And this is really, for me, one of the first challenges for the European Union and the member states. How do you deal with a country when it's in the EU already? How do you deal with it when it becomes, well, they're always men, when they become a bad boy, when they start kind of pushing against the accepted rules and values and norms? And that's something that we don't really have a solution to inside the EU. So for me, that is one of the key problems, how you deal with problems once countries misbehave, once they're inside the EU. The second internal area, and this is something which I'm less kind of knowledgeable about, but I can see that it's an issue, is my understanding is that there's a real tendency for young people to start to vote for more rightist parties. And alongside that, you have a rising kind of climate of misogyny. You have the whole incel phenomenon, and that seems to be crisscrossing and weaving into politics as well. And I think that's a real cause for concern. And that is an issue on a European level. And so it just makes me think, you have these two trends. You have the trend towards everyone being more inclusive and accepting of diversity. And that for me is a positive thing. But at the same time, you have this almost countervailing, polarizing trend of young people voting for rightist parties, which might be anti-LGB, they might be misogynistic, anti-foreigner. And so those two trends are interesting to think about, and I'd like to understand them more maybe through the eyes of the people in the seminars. There's two different trends of inclusion on the one hand and exclusion on the other hand. They seem to be going on at the same time. So they're the two kind of internal issues that concern me. The rest of the issues which I think are relevant to our discussion today are external. The first one is Ukraine. Should we allow Ukraine to become a member of the EU sooner rather than later? If you look at it with history and hindsight, if you look at the theory of European integration and European enlargement, you would see that Ukraine would take 20 years to join. But obviously with the war, which doesn't seem to be ending, with geopolitics, with the threat of Russian spread of irredentism across that whole area, surely there's a clear argument, a geopolitical, an ethical, and a moral argument to accept Ukraine becoming a member sooner rather than later. And that might mean that we as the European Union have to soften or make it a little bit easier or attainable actually for Ukraine to become an EU member. So that for me is another area, a big question confronting your generation and mine. In fact, how do we deal with Ukraine if we accept it should become a member, first and foremost? Second question, externalities, is to do with Brexit. As I mentioned, Europe for me is deeply personal. I also did Erasmus to Germany as part of my undergrad degree. A lot of my students, Lucia, I think, is going to join us, and she's from Spain, but she's studying in Poland. So Poland is actually very good for attracting good Erasmus students. So Brexit is deeply personal, and I think it's important to keep the debate alive about the prospect of the UK coming back in. And I'd be interested in people's views here as to whether you see that as a good thing or whether allowing the UK back in would allow Britain to be a troublemaker again in the future. There's been a recent kind of reset in the tone of EU-UK relations and a new set of agreements. We'll have to see how they actually work on the ground. But again, this is a generational issues, the terms of the UK's re-entry, because I think over time, demographically, it's inevitable that young people in the UK want to return to the EU, but it's what the terms will be. The final point for me is about innovation in Europe. And, Europe has great universities. Europe has a fairly young and dynamic and well-trained population. And yet globally, collectively, the European Union is not where it should be in terms of innovation, research, and development. And that's partly because even though we have a research area, we have a higher education area, universities and research groups are still not as joined up as they need to be. We're really only at the start of that process. So I think what we should also think about are what are the concrete steps that member states and European Union should be taking to realise the basis for a truly kind of innovative Europe. The point I'm going to say in terms of what are the current challenges and issues is again intergenerational, because it was a concern when I was a student of European studies and it is again now, and that is namely what kind of actor should the European Union be on the international stage? We know that we do enlargement very well, that succeeds. We know that we have member states with high level of military capacities. We know that we have the UK, who is not a member, but who is keen to participate in European security initiatives. So why is it that for so many decades, we haven't been able to get ourselves together and to be a credible and joined up and meaningful security actor? And obviously our weaknesses in that respect were pretty clear during the 1990s already, when Yugoslavia was breaking up, and they're even clearer now when it comes to Ukraine. Okay, so they're the kind of 5 or 6 points that I want to raise. So problems with the rule of law internally, the countervailing trends of pro-inclusion, but diversity and incels and right-wing misogyny is a problem. Then what to do about Ukraine, Brexit, innovative Europe, and finally the EU as an external strategic actor. They're the things which I think are, for me, relevant now, and many of them were relevant prior as well. So thank you.
Great, thank you so much for raising such important points on our agenda for today, talking about the internal affairs and also addressing issues related to Ukraine and to the United Kingdom. Now that we have seen a closer relationship between the European Union and the United Kingdom starting to develop. Next, we are going to move towards the part of our event where we are going to discuss about a few topics. For the first one of them, it's going to be related to the young people and the European Union. Which are your personal experience? What kind of opportunities and achievements have you had so far? Second, how do you see the current status of the European Union? Is it moving towards a positive direction? Is it moving towards a negative direction? Or you're not very sure towards is it moving to? How do you see the future of the European Union? How do you see your participation and contribution to the democratic life in terms of social involvement and civic engagement? And very important, what role should the European Union play in the world? Which should be the priorities? And before going to Justina, who is going to have the first intervention from Poland today, I would like to share with you just a few statistics from the latest Eurobarometer that was conducted on young people's perception towards the European Union. Just going to share the screen for a minute. All right. Just one. Okay. So we have the Eurobarometer that was released this April, and here we have the data for Poland. I would like to bring to your attention the fact that in terms of the strengths of the EU, on the first place, we have the freedom of movement, which in Poland is seen as important by 47% of the respondents. But when we are looking in comparison to Romania, the data shows that it's almost 26% of the young people who see the freedom of movement as being very important. Not going to stay very much on this topic because I want to take your take on the attitudes that you have and on the approaches towards the European Union. But I'm going to leave the results of the Eurobarometer in the chat and invite you to follow them in comparison to see how young people from Poland and from Romania relate to different issues which are focused, for instance, on the priorities of the European Union, on the concerns that they have. And a very important point from the presentation held by Dr. Longhurst is also this one. We have the young people as being the high supporters of the EU membership of their country, but at the same time, we also have young people going and voting for political options which are more on the sides of the extremists. So how do we explain those situations? And for the first intervention from Poland, I would like to invite Justina Kamka, who is a student at the Civitas University in Poland. Justina, please let us know if you can hear us.
Hello. Yes, I can hear you. I'll just check with my camera. I hope you can see me.
Now we can see you. Great, Justina.
All right. So thank you for inviting me. I will start maybe on a positive note, and what I appreciate about the European Union. And it is definitely the freedom of movement. People like to travel, see new things, discover different places, and moving around with the EU passport within the EU is incredibly easy and convenient. So this is a big part that brings me also joy and is very positive and nice. Another thing, maybe, since Poland joined the EU, we have seen many changes, and I think Poland gained especially a lot since joining. We have seen so much improvement, especially economically. Even in my own hometown city, which is Katowice, we have seen the parks were renovated. We have the schools were renovated. Like we can see where the EU funds were being placed, and it's been lots of places, and it improved a lot, and it's just nice to live. So this is also a part that I have to mention, that Poland itself gained a lot since joining the European Union. Now, I would like to address what my professor, Dr. Lankhurst, also mentioned. It would be the also innovation. I think we have so many regulations in the EU. That's just, I mean, sometimes it's good because it also means protection. Like when we talk about food or ingredients, I'm all here for it. It's great. Like when we compare the food ingredients in the US, for example, or in the EU, it's such a big difference. And I think this is something we can be kind of proud of because it sets a standard. But when we are disputing over the curve of a banana or what we can call milk, it can be, I'm not saying that this completely unimportant, because I'm sure it has some reasons for it. But when we have issues like the war in Ukraine, the rising of the far-right parties, those issues don't seem as priority. And also, I think European Union itself has such a big potential. I think we can do so much as a unity, but I think we need to redirect it a little bit and set our goals also for the future, because I'm sure one of the reasons why we have the rise of the support of the right-wing parties was also the migration. And the fact is, when we had the migration crisis in 2015, Europe was not prepared for taking in so many migrants. And I think European Union should implement maybe some scenarios of black swans, so they would be prepared for future instances, because we know the future changes a lot. We can never predict everything, but I think we should be able to predict some things and see how the world is moving, because the migration crisis didn't come from one day to another. It was something we could see for, like, predict. So this is a part where I think should be more implemented. Also, I like the support that we have in the European Union and some common laws which make some things easier, but not all laws fit all countries. So we cannot implement all laws that are in Germany also in Poland. It doesn't fit. Also, the values might be different. It might clash with other laws. So to force all laws that for all countries is just not suitable. So my stance on this matter would be the European Union definitely has big potential, but we need to make some changes so it would be more effective, I would say. Even when we have the war in Ukraine, European Union is so big, but there is no person that would have, I would say, this authority. Like even with talking with powers like the US, China, Russia, we seem pretty weak, I would say. We have countries disagreeing. We can't have one common stance. So we would have to gain some authority, I would say, and maybe someone that would represent us, maybe not for every case, but maybe for like cases like Ukraine and Russia, we would need a person from a country that would represent it and be authoritative. Because for now, in comparison with China or US, we seem pretty, we are not unified. So this is something we would have to work on. So to summarize all of it, I think there are definitely some good outcomes from the European Union, and I'm definitely a person that is for the European Union, is pro-European. But we need some changes, and we need to see where our priorities are and concentrate on them, and maybe try to foresee some future crises so we can prevent them and not only work when they are already here. So that would be from my side. Thank you.
Well, Christina, you had a very interesting take on the challenges starting from the freedom of movement, which is an important topic for Poles, as we have seen, but also for the Romanians. And talking about irregular immigration, it's very interesting that the Eurobarometer I have just shared shows that the interest of the young Poles is definitely much more higher in terms of dealing with the irregular immigration than it is, for instance, in the case of the young Romanians. Very interesting what you have said in terms of needing changes. And also, I think you have approached a little bit the principle of subsidiarity with the laws that are being brought up to discussion at the level of the European Union. And if some of them may go beyond the attributions that should be kept at the national level. Thank you for the interesting points. From Poland, I would invite you to go to Bucharest, to Romania, and to see what Andreea, who is studying at the National Defense University, has to say, as I know she's very interested in terms of the security policy of the European Union. So, Andreea, you have the floor.
Hello. For today, I actually prepared another topic, but I will also speak about the war in Ukraine. First, I would like to start on a positive take, approaching all the opportunities that we have as students in the EU. For example, in my second year of studies, I actually had the double opportunity of joining two Erasmus programs, both at the War Studies University in Poland. It was a program dedicated to security studies and international relations that actually helped me understand better the NATO alliance, the EU implications in security, because until then I actually saw the EU as a main political and economical player in globally speaking. However, ever since the war broke in Ukraine, the EU began supporting Ukraine financially, even military. So now we can say that the EU is a better security player. So being in another country, in an ally country to Romania, actually helped me professionally speaking. And I very much recommend for all of the students in the EU, participating in Erasmus programs like I did, because you don't only study new things or similar things to what you study in your country, you have a broader access to academia, to other professors, to other students, to new experiences, to new languages. For me, being in Poland meant that I had to study Polish, which is a very beautiful and a little bit hard language. I also got to have professional opportunities, because while I was there, I actually accessed a traineeship at the Romanian embassy in Warsaw. And when I came back, I actually had this wonderful experience studying and working and connecting with other young people like me. And this was just a wonderful moment of my life. Now, addressing the risks and the challenges that the EU faces, I can say that the main problem right now for the countries in the Eastern European, the Central European, would be Euroscepticism, especially because Romania experienced strange part of its recent history regarding the presidential elections that were clearly disturbed by many factors. And I can say that this has become a greater problem in EU. It also challenges the decision-making policies, the political cohesion of the EU, the trust of the people in the EU institutions, and not only in the EU, but in the government of the states. And it creates new fractures inside the country and inside the EU. And we have all experienced already the Brexit in 2016, well, officially in 2020. And we can say that the EU does not need another rupture in its core. And the war in Ukraine was a factor of which the UK became a stronger ally of the EU right now, a better partner. And also, when we bring this problem, the war in Ukraine, inside the countries, we can say that it forms polarization. Some part of the people support Ukraine, support the cause, support the decisions in the EU for supporting and giving aid multidimensionally to Ukraine. However, there is a part that identifies as nationalists, but they do not understand the concept, truthfully. And they would much rather support the national part, the national stake on security, and they would much rather distance themselves from the war, stating that the war is not a national problem. Well, it is a national problem, because when we talk about security, we have two environments: the internal environment and the external environment. So if it's not necessarily an internal problem of the member states, it is an external problem of the member states. So the war in Ukraine affects each and every one of us, economically, politically, and in many other ways. We have all experienced an economical problem ever since the war broke. Energy crisis all over EU. We were forced as a bloc to let go of the Russian energy supplies. It wasn't hard. It was hard, but we got there. and right now we are more and more independent in the energy sector, and energy is also a key component of the security, because security does not only mean defense, does not only mean military support. Security is a concept that links all of the life activities, political and diplomatic activities, economic activities, energy, social activities. So it's much more than just military, than the military sector. And I would say that Euroscepticism should be addressed by the EU in all of the ways possible, through education mainly, when we talk about the younger generation, and not only by the EU, but the member states. So education should be the key, but not only for the younger generation, but for every segment of life in every member state. So thank you very much for letting me state my ideas, and I hope I brought some light into this theme that we are addressing today.
Thank you, Andrea, for sharing your experience as an Erasmus Plus student, and also by talking about the dimensions, the internal and external dimension of the security. I really enjoyed your last call to action to lifelong learning, because as we are now passing a new industrial revolution, the digital one, definitely we need the lifelong education. And now we are going to invite Lucia, who I think has a very interesting experience being a Spanish national, living and learning in Poland. Lucia, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. So yeah, as a Erasmus student living now in Poland, I really value the opportunities that the EU offers to young people. For example, programs as Erasmus Plus, and also the freedom to move between different countries, and also having the access to live international education that is a really rich opportunity. And these are different ways that we have to grow up as a person. But however, I feel like even though many young people have these opportunities, it's not always the same facilities to everyone. So I think it's quite complicated to live that type of things. Also, I believe that the European Union has really good intentions and also a strong base of values. But in practice, we keep contradicting ourselves. For example, human rights and democracy is part of our main pillars. But we keep signing trade with governments that, for example, break those same principles. And also, we are maybe sometimes looking away for some wars that are happening nowadays. So I really support the European Union because I think it's the main way to achieve a better future for everyone. But I think that we have to be more conscious about what we say and what we do. So, so the European Union obviously knows that it has a really important power in the global dynamics, and because of that, it must keep working to maintain it and also become even better. So it should try to be an example for the other countries and the other parts of the world in terms of ethical, economic, and also social matters. And nevertheless, I know that it's really difficult to connect the values and also the economic actions, but I think that the European Union should fight to defend the human rights, even if it means facing some economic challenges, because Europe must be brave and fight for that it believes, because if we don't do it, who will? My opinion about the European is that it's incredible the power and the things that it have done, but I think that nowadays we are living really big challenges. For example, as what my colleague had said, for the extreme opinions that the young people are having. But I think that we have to be brave and fight for what we want and what we believe. So that's basically everything what I have to say. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, Lucian, for raising a point about the ability of the European Union to export values and standards, and how do we put together our needs to keep these values that represent the fundament of our European Union, and also the, let's say, backbone of our development, with the needs that we have in terms of economic relations, and also building a strategic autonomy which relates to the security point taken before by Andrea and Justina. Let's go to Hannah, the one who is a student at the International Computer High School in Bucharest. Hannah, you have recently been featured in our communication campaign, talking about the benefits of Romania's membership to the European Union. How do you see this?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I will talk about the relationship between young people and the European Union, but what I'm about to say, I want to be taken more like a message. So let me start on a personal note. I was born a European, more specifically on January 2007. So basically, I was born a few days after Romania joined the EU. I've grown up with innumerable opportunities, from Erasmus Plus exchanges to internships in European institutions, and even simply the freedom to travel, study, and work across borders. The EU has given us more than just policies. It has given us opportunities, but opportunities alone don't define our relationship with the EU. It's also about how we engage with these opportunities. I'm going to give you some examples of my engagement. Since I joined high school, so in 2021, I became a part of the EPAS project, which is European Parliament Ambassador Schools. For those who do not know, we are a team. So basically each school that is joining this project has a team, and we participate, or we organize workshops, conferences, all kinds of activities that inspire young people to engage with the European values and to be actively implicated in all kinds of European projects. Also, I'm a volunteer at Europe Direct in the Forum Theater team, and I'm so happy to be doing that. Here, while we're talking, I remember that me and another person that is here with us, Andrei Vasile, which is in my past team, we took part in a competition which is called Imagine EU. It's European international actually competition, and we had a project that was called Reunion, and it was a debate platform. And it's so funny to me because here we are doing exactly what we competed with, and we won that project, that European project. As a final note, because I want to keep it short, I would like to put emphasis on the fact that European projects should not be entirely optional, because at the end of the day, these opportunities educate us. And as Andrea Bucurica, I guess was her name, said, to my mind as well, education is one of our greatest weapons. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hannah. I like what you said about engaging with the opportunities that are coming towards us. And on this, I know a person who has engaged very well with the opportunity of being a promoter for European democracy is Ana Ștefania Diță, who is a student at the University of Bucharest and former promoter for democracy within the Generation EU project implemented by the Parliament's office here in Bucharest. Ana, you have the floor. Ana, can you hear us? Your mic is closed. Now it's open.
Yes, sorry, but I have still connection. Once.
We can't hear you very well. Can you speak a bit louder?
It's okay. It's okay?
Yeah.
So, it's okay. Hello, my name is Stefania. I study journalism. I like this fair with European affairs and all the projects. I study journalism at University of Bucharest. I collaborate with Pulse Z. Pulse Z is a European platform. It's a digital democracy platform. Sorry, but it's a noise because I'm in my university and it's a little noisy, but it's okay. I collaborate with Pulse Z, where I conduct interview on European topics and creating audiovisual content for the Euractiv. If anyone wants to one second, it's okay.
Yes,
you see me?
Can hear you.
Okay,
Not
sorry.
so well, but we can hear you. It's okay. You can continue.
Okay. Sorry, but I have more projects and I'm with my brain now. In 2-3 yes. In high school, I joined the European Parliament Ambassador School before becoming a promoter for European democracy. Now I'm intern. I have a scholarship at the Europe Direct, and I also landed an internship at the National Agency for Community Programming Education and Vocational Training. Why is Europe important? For me, because thanks to it, I have so many opportunity, and now I can continue this debate. Finally, I will share a quote that represents me, that I usually say those who have worked on project with me. Sweep the light and the darkness will dissipate by itself. Erasmus. One more thing, I have done all these things and continue to do things because I enjoy taking action and being involved. Thank you. And I'm sorry, but I don't have a connection and I have a problem with sound.
No worries. It's okay. I think we managed to grasp a few things of what you have said, talking about the opportunities and about your recent work on digital democracy, and also the quote that you have shared in the end with being a light in the dark. All right, and now we are going to move from the University of Bucharest, which is right across the street from the Institute, to the National School of Political Studies and Administration, to Camelia Mitu, who is a student there. Camelia, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure and an honor to be part of this event today. My name is Camelia Mitu, and I'm a student at the Faculty of Communication and Public Relations in Bucharest, and also I'm an intern at Europe Direct Center. I've prepared a short speech that reflects my personal experience as a young European and my perspectives on some key issues. As someone who is passionate both about culture and artificial intelligence, two areas that may seem like opposites, I believe that the future of Europe lies in finding a balance between embracing the digital world and preserving our human essence through culture, through creativity, and shared values. When we talk about young Europe, young people and the European Union, and about experiences and opportunities, as a young writer myself and as a member of the Union of Journalists of Romania, and as a student, I've always looked for ways to grow creatively and professionally within a European context. I'm glad to see that the EU supports initiatives like Creative Europe, international book fairs, cultural exchanges that offer visibility and support young artists. But perhaps the most transformative opportunities for young people, I think it's Erasmus Plus. And why do I think this program is so important? Because it offers something that no classroom alone can provide, and this is a multicultural experience. Learning through direct contact with other traditions, languages, and perspectives is a great way to grow, especially as a young people. Erasmus offers an interdisciplinary approach, encourages curiosity, and allows students to contribute to the international community. And I'm also happy to say that soon I will benefit myself from the Erasmus Plus experience, because this autumn I will be studying for one semester at Jagiellonian University in Krakow, Poland. And this is a dream I had for a long time. And also before that, I also took part in some Erasmus activities. For example, during high school, I joined the European Leader Contest. And in that project, I developed an educational project to support children with special needs. Also, I've joined some workshops with international experts at the National Museum of Maps, where I was a volunteer, and I participated in conferences related to EU values and civic engagement. When we talk about the current state of the EU, if it's moving in a positive direction, from my perspective, the European Union is moving in a positive direction. Of course, no system is perfect, but the fact that 27 countries, each with their own culture, history, and interest, manage to cooperate and take common decisions for the well-being of millions of people gives me a lot of hope. Unity in diversity is not just a quote, it's a reality. Whether we talk about the European Green Deal, about the digital transformation, social cohesion, or the EU response to global conflicts, I see consistent efforts to build a better future. So the EU is not static, it evolves and adapts. When we talk about the role of the EU in the world and about priorities for the future, looking forward, I believe that the EU should continue to be a global leader in ethical innovation, cultural diplomacy, and human rights. One of the areas I'm personally passionate about is artificial intelligence. We are living in an age where AI is developing faster than ever, and while it brings many opportunities, it also comes with a lot of risk. I'm glad to see that the European Union is actively working on regulations like AI Act or Digital Service Act. This law helps protect our rights, our values, and freedom in a rapidly changing digital landscape. And to conclude, I see the European Union as a space of opportunity, resilience, and shared responsibility. Through education, culture, and innovation, EU continues to shape not only policies but our lives. And as a young European, I'm really happy to be part of this journey. Thank you for your attention.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Camelia, for your inputs. It was nice hearing about also the topic of artificial intelligence. Next, we are going to go to Andrei, who has been introduced before by his colleague Hannah, who's studying at the same high school in Bucharest, International Computer High School here. Andrei, you have the floor.
Hello, thank you for having me and for inviting me. I would like to start by pointing out something obvious, is that the fact that we are all here in this call today can only lead to the fact that we all like the EU. So I would like to tackle the point of those, at least those of the youth who do not like the EU and who vote against it, because I feel as it's a much more interesting topic given our political context, where we see people of my age voting for far right extremist parties. And we're gonna start with something very simple. I will try to talk for around 5 minutes, but it's a longer rant, I would say. If we look at democracy as it is, we will see something interesting, albeit democracy being either in Europe or in the US or in Africa or wherever you want it to be, it manifests on the same wavelength, and that's education, which I think my colleague here, Andrea, has brought a very important point on education. Education is the base of democracy, as Theodore Roosevelt put it. It's the fact that in order to be able to pick your leader, you need to have the proper education to make differences and understand who's the good leader and who's the bad leader. And we have evidence backing this up. We have Trump, who said a very important thing, that he likes the poorly educated, which what does that mean? It means that he rises from the poorly educated. Education is what stops extremism. Education is what makes people understand and what makes people critically think why far-right parties are going to eventually lead us to crisis. If we look at a map, we compare the map of who was voted in the US and who was voted in like all around Europe, mainly in Romania, we will see that people have voted centrist and democracy in big cities like Bucharest, Cluj, Constanța, I think it was an island, exactly remember. And they correlate with the votings in New York, the votings in Miami, Houston, LA. It shows us that where education is a lot more free and a lot more accessible, people tend to pick what the EU is trying to teach us, democracy. So the real key here, which people need to put emphasis on, is education, and that's what I'm here to emphasize, as I like to say. Which, of course, I will not go into what I do mostly, as my colleague Hannah said. I work within the ICHVX EPAS team as a PR coordinator, so public relations and media. I've also helped work on the Imagine EU platform, which has the goal to do what we do here today, debate about the European Union. But a true debate would stand on the ground that we need people who do not see the EU as good as we see it, and we need to make them understand that it is a good thing, and firstly understand why they do not think it is a good thing. Because people who vote, they vote for themselves and they vote for a better country no matter what their view is. This is what they think. People vote with a good intent. No one is going to go out there and vote thinking, okay, I will vote for a far-right candidate just so I can make the guy who voted centrist day worse. No one does this. It's all about the fact that people want the best for them. And people need to be educated to understand what the best for them actually means. People need to understand. People need political education, which people have criticized me for saying that it is required in schools, but it's not a bad thing. People need to understand what a left party is, what a right party is, what libertarianism means, what totalitarianism means, what being on right, on left, what being up or being down on the political compass really means. People need to understand the differences so they can understand to which party they relate more and to which party they're going to vote for. Because as we've seen in the first round with our canceled presidential polls and voting, we've seen that people have voted for the far-right candidate who has surged and destroyed the polls with no explanations. And after voting, they have gone on Dext Online, which is our dictionary, and have looked up words such as far-right, legionaries, fascism, words that relate to what that person was implying that is the good way for Romania. They have voted for that person without understanding what this means. By and large, my entire point in this rant is pretty simple. Have people understand what education means and plug education, civic involvement, social improvement, plug political education, make people understand that critical thinking is essential when picking our leaders. As Roosevelt said, a real democracy only works in a population where the people are ready to decide their leaders. That's the only way we are going to be able to save democracy. Thank you.
Well, I wouldn't say it was a rant, but rather a call for paying more attention to civic education and to the civic engagement of people in general, not that of young people. So thank you very much for addressing these topics. And in relation to what Camelia has also been saying in her presentation, democratic systems open the floor for feedback from the citizens, from different groups. And we have reached that part of our meeting when we are also going to open the floor for comments and questions from all the participants who have been here with us today. So maybe our colleagues who are working at different schools in Poland, maybe would like to share some words about the educational system, about the views on the European Union. We would be very interested to find more details on this. So who would like to intervene? You're more than welcome to raise your hand so that we have all the data here. And we have here with us Mrs. Agnieszka Piskors from Einstein School in Warsaw and Mrs. Agnieszka Lokai from Poland as well. If you would like to intervene and maybe share a few thoughts about the topic and your work with Polish students.
Actually, if I can say, what some students said, it is like the core of the point when we talk about education and also European Union, because young generation, all these young people don't remember the times when we were, for example, communistic state like Poland, but for example, I do. And that's why it is very important, what was mentioned before, to develop critical thinking as a subject. That's why I have this opportunity to develop it, but not within the public education. This is very important because there are more public schools than private ones, which I represent. However, it is crucial because we have waves, tons of information coming from all sides of social media, internet, and so on. So the crucial thing is to learn how to distinguish something what is valuable from that what is not, what is, sorry for the word, rubbish. So to have this ability, for sure, we need to develop critical thinking options, how to do it, how to distinguish what is valuable, how to value the things what European Union brought to younger generation, because young people don't remember. So if we don't educate them what was earlier, what we had to go through, they will not have comparison to choose what is the best for them. That's why I think this lack of knowledge, lack of education, lack of critical thinking, looking only for the schemes like tests when you have only multiple choice. One of my students pointed out this, when we have multiple choice tests, A, B, C, D, and we cannot express our thoughts, how to learn how to think. So it is a big field for educators to change the education, to change curriculums so that young people are well educated, they know how to think critically, and they know how to learn from the greatest sources. So I think it is also, I am with my students, they can listen to you, and I think it is the part of this critical thinking. They can learn from the other people, young people, a bit older than them, how to get the knowledge, from which sources they can get the knowledge. And I think it is very crucial for the future generation. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Excellent point with learning how to think. That's an ability that we definitely need in today's society, more with the advancement of artificial intelligence that offer us ready-made answers for everything that we could think about. Who would like to intervene next?
I might talk. Hello, can you hear me? Because I can. Yeah, I'd like to say that I very much support the idea of organizing schools the way a state works. I have an experience of working in non-public schools in Poland where the organization of a state is sort of copied, and so the students, while they are still teenagers, have an opportunity of practicing what it's like to be an active citizen in a reality where you have the government, which you can form, which you can contribute to, which you can actively influence, where you have the which is the executive part, where you have the legislative in the reality of a school, in which again students are an operative force and not a minority, and how it feels when you also are in a court in school. And whenever a problem arises that cannot be negotiated, is maybe too serious or too complicated, actually a school court resolves that and its decisions are respected and put into life. I think this experience allows students to actually believe that they have influence, and when they leave schools while they are already old enough to vote, they actually have a real experience of their own influence and their own power as citizens. And this is a wonderful sort of school of citizenship and civic values. Such schools exist. Of course, they are non-public and they are niche, but I think it's not too difficult to try to run a school in this way and to show students in practice that they can have influence and they can be powerful citizens. Thank you.
Thank you for the system presented, and that could be replicated at a higher means. Do we have other interventions already set in motion? Yes, please.
Yeah, just maybe I can agree with Agnieszka and Agnieszka, and I can say with all certainty that I don't like to use the word level of education, but the nature of the extent of a person's education had a direct correlation to how they voted for the European Union, by and large. And this wasn't just about being pro or anti-EU, it was the basic kind of knowledge and understanding, not just about European integration that people have or don't have. It's about these more fundamental understandings of how the world works, how politics works, whether it is duty, citizenship, notions of power, representative democracy, how governments work, what governance is, and how as individuals we fit in with this. So I can really just confirm the importance of that. Political education, civics education, citizenship, to have that as a space within a school, because so many things flow off from that. It's not something which is a silo, but it's so fundamental. And without it, it has direct European consequences like Brexit. And you can see how the Farages of the world, the populists, they, as Donald Trump, seize upon that lack of understanding and knowledge and use it with very simple pushing and pulling of buttons and levers to get a massive change in a negative way.
Indeed. And often in our discussions, we kind of limited ourselves to labeling politics as being a taboo subject in different cultures. And how do we expect people to have a certain level of political knowledge if we label this topic as being a taboo and should not be brought forward in our discussions? I would like maybe to ask Andrei Vereș if you would like to intervene, as you are a student, a Romanian student in France. How do you view this subject, and how do you view the European Union as a Romanian citizen living and studying in France?
Well, first of all, the European, of course, I'm very optimistic about the European Union as a community, an economic, political, and social community, we can say. There are positive points, of course. There are some negative points also, but I think that we should find a balance between those in order to, continue this beautiful project and this beautiful community, which is the European Union. Because from an economic point of view, me as a Romanian citizen and European citizen studying in France, I had a lot of opportunities thanks to being and Romania being a member of the European Union, and of course there are also some problems as other the other participants highlighted: Euroscepticism, populism, extremism, and these are some problems which could and affect the European Union and should be addressed as soon as possible in an efficient way. But overall, the European Union is a community which I love, and I'm proud to be a European and to live, to study, and to work there. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrei, for sharing your thoughts. Do you have any other remarks, comments, questions that maybe you would like to address? Maybe some other views from Poland as well. I think we have a few more speakers attending today from different Polish cities. Well, until you maybe think about other comments, I would have a question for both the Romanian students and the Polish one. Do you see yourselves as being a Romanian citizen first, or a Polish citizen first, and second, a European citizen? How do you see this relationship within the national citizenship and the European citizenship? And I would go to Justina first, maybe to ask for her feedback.
Sure. Sorry. So, for me, I see myself as a Polish citizen first. Like this, I think this is my core identity, and this, if someone would ask me where I'm from, I would say I'm Polish. But I do feel part of the European community and the part of the European Union. But yeah, I think it still lies, the core identity lies in being Polish, for me at least.
So Polish citizenship comes first, and second, belonging to the European Union.
Exactly. Like, I think for me, I'm being Polish, but I'm being part of something. It's how I see it.
So Polish in the European Union, not just in an individual state. That's a very interesting remark. Thank you very much, Justina. Lucia, how is it in your case? As you're a Spanish national, do you see yourself with Spanish citizenship first?
Well, I think that, as my colleague has said, first I feel Spanish, but obviously I know that I'm part of something really important and something really good, that is being European. And I think that be Spanish and be European is something really related, because it's basically the search and the struggle for a better future. So I don't know, maybe at first I will say that I'm Spanish, but obviously it wouldn't be the same if I wouldn't be part of the European Union, because I think that Spain is in the point that it is because thanks for the European Union.
Interesting. So a stronger Spanish citizenship to the belonging or to the membership to the European Union. Or in the case of the Romanian students, Andrea, Camelia, how do you see yourselves?
I can answer if that's okay. So first, I see myself as a Romanian and then as a European, but I also feel deeply connected to the European Union. And it's not really a matter of choosing one over the other. I think both identities coexist in myself and shapes how I see the world. So I I love being Romanian. I love being European. I can choose.
Very nice, the feeling of coexistence. What in your case, Andrea, Andrei, how do you see it?
Yeah, can I?
Oh, sure, you say.
Thank you. So I feel like, firstly, I have to put emphasis. I'm Romanian. This is how I was born. I will always say I'm Romanian. And where my EU citizenship comes into this is that it doesn't necessarily separate my Romanian citizenship. It puts emphasis on it because, it's the motto, united in diversity. It helps those around me in EU understand that not only am I Romanian, but as different as I am for them, we all have common ground. So it's the fact that I am Romanian, but I am proud to be Romanian because it gives me the ability to live in the EU and to share my experience of being different with people from other member states who are different from me, but are still united by the common goals of being European. So,
Thank you, Andrei. What about you, Andrea?
I also view myself both as a Romanian citizen and European Union citizen.
First, my Romanian citizenship gives me, I wouldn't call it self-confidence, but I would call it an identity, a national identity. And the European Union citizenship gives me a better connection with all of the other citizens in the EU member states, because the EU came together as a European community and extended to the EU, to a union. So by being a European Union citizen, it gives me another status as another member of something greater than the state, something like that. This is how I view it. I keep my identity as a Romanian, but I'm also a member of this beautiful family that is the European Union.
Interesting. And in your cases, Anna and Hannah, how do you see it? Anna and Hannah, can you hear us? Maybe there are some problems with the connection. My last question for you would be related to the relations between Romania and Poland, because I think this year we have 105 years of diplomatic relations between Romania and Poland, and we have this partnership, the strategic partnership, the bilateral relation, but also our cooperation in the European Union. And I would like to ask you, how do you view this partnership between Romania and Poland? Do we have some common priorities? Do you see some differences between the countries? How would you characterize the relations between Romania and Poland? And maybe we could start with Dr. Longhurst on this one.
I suppose, when I think about Romania and Poland together, I think about the security and the defense dimension, because Poland is the kind of large security defense provider at the north part of the eastern border, and Romania kind of covers that Black Sea security space. So I think there's a symmetry there. And I gather that over the last 5 years or so, in context of NATO, Romania and Poland work closely together. There's a like-mindedness and view of the world. And I think there always has been that. I think with Poland's external relations and relations with EU countries, I think this coming weekend, we've got the second round of the presidential elections here in Poland. It's this weekend, I think. I mean, I can't vote in it, so I'm not quite sure. But I think this will be a telling moment as well for Poland's relations with the EU generally. If we get, in my view, what would be a good result, we can get the continuation of a pro-European, enlightened openness. If we get a different kind of result for the election, we might get a more regressive, conservative, skeptical approach. And I'm not quite sure how that would affect relations with countries like Romania, but it definitely wouldn't be a positive outcome, I think.
I see. Well, thank you for the answer. And in your case, Justina, how do you see the relationship between Romania and Poland? Or maybe Lucia? Oh, Justina.
For me, I don't know that many Romanian people. Now, this might be a little bit silly, but I don't know if you know Dragos. He is a stand-up comedian, and I think he has a good knowledge of history. And when he speaks about it, and when there's Polish audience, I feel mentally there is some kind of connection, like some kind of like shared values. And I would rather see this connection between Polish people and Romanians in a rather positive light.
Oh, the cultural connections through stand-up comedy. That's a very nice example to bring forward. Thank you, Justina. What in your case? What about your case, Lucia?
Well, I don't know too much about the relation of Poland and Romania because I'm Spanish, but as I know, its relation it's really important because of the history and also because of their position in the NATO. So I think the work and the connections between those both countries is really important because it could be an opportunity to push each other to a better position in Europe. So,
So for a better position in Europe. And Camelia, how do you view this relationship?
In my opinion, the relationship between Romania and Poland is very strong and valuable. Both countries share common priorities within the European Union when it comes to regional security, energy cooperation, and support for democratic values. At the same time, Romania and Poland both share both are culturally rich nations, and they have deep historical ties, and they are growing partnership in education, civil society, and even innovation. I believe that continuing to strengthen this cooperation will benefit our countries, but also the European Union.
Thank you for raising awareness about the economic relations, because we have some very good Polish investors here in Romania in transport and not only. Let's see what in the case of Andrea, how do you see this bilateral relationship? And you have also studied in Warsaw.
Yes, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So the bilateral relation between Poland and Romania is one of our greatest strategic partnerships, having some strong allies here. While I was there, I actually understood why Poland is one of our greatest partners and strategic allies, not only when we speak about the military side and how Poland developed so beautifully in the security domain over the last maybe 10 years, but I got to understand the beautiful historical relation that Romania and Poland have, the historical ties that we had during the First World War, the Second World War, and how our nations actually developed over the years and over the fall of the Iron Curtain in 1991. And I can say that now when I talk about the Polish and Romanian relationship, I think about security, I think about solidarity with Ukraine, and I think about bringing the eastern and central part of Europe closer to what the western side looks like, because Romania and Poland are the key actors here on this side of the EU, and they had tremendous potential of development, and they actually did the actions to go there, to be major players on this side, and got there. So for me, Romania and Poland are examples of what development after the fall of the Iron Curtain, after the end of the Cold War looks like.
Thank you, Andrei. Andrei, Hannah, and Anna, how do you view this relationship?
Yeah, can I start?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like there's two simple events which have happened in the past 2 weeks in Poland, and when compared, we can see the beauty of democracy versus what best was the pretending of the far right. Firstly, I think about 2 to 3 weeks ago, our far right candidate went to Poland to support their far right candidate, but it was before our second round of voting. So basically, he was more so going over there to make a name for himself, which if you want to be a real politician, you do not do that, okay? You want to be a politician to defend your country, not to use thousands of people who are going into the streets to want a better life for themselves as a means for you to get votes. That's just selfish, and that's I think Romanian politicianism was politicianism. I don't know if it's in English too, but it's basically doing politics only for our own ego. Then we look 2 weeks later and we see our current president, Nicu Jordan, going to the pro-European march in Warsaw, where tens of thousands of people have attended. And we see him going over there after he won the elections, after he's done his job of proving to us that he can defend democracy. He's going to another country to help them also protect democracy, not because he wants a name for himself, but because he wants to have others protect democracy the way we want democracy to be protected. He wants to work with Poland so that we together in the European stage can protect democracy. And a funny and very, very wholesome thing that you can see is the fact that he was talking in Romanian and there was a translator translating it like 2 to 3 minutes after him, but people were cheering after he was talking because it was more about the intention and the idea. It was a feeling that went beyond the words that our president was saying. It was the fact that we over there and he was over there, like everyone was there to protect democracy, to support a common cause, a cause that went beyond what he was saying. It went beyond and was purely stated by the fact that he was there to support Warsaw's candidate, like the pro-European candidate. So thank you.
Thank you, Andrei, for also bringing into the discussion this topic. It's interesting to see how young people of your age relate themselves to the bilateral relationship by also looking at the political updates that are happening in the society, both in Romania and in Poland. Are there any comments or interventions up to this point? Would anyone else would like to take the floor? Okay. Well, if not, then it was my pleasure to moderate this event. And before passing the floor to Adela to close the event, I would kindly ask you to open up your camera so that we can take a group picture as a memory from this event. So please open up your cameras just for split seconds, and afterwards you can close them back. It's all right. We are all looking amazing. No worries in this sense. All right. So everyone, please smile at the camera. Adela, are you helping us with the screenshot? Should I also take one? Great. So now we also have a very good proof, a digital proof of the Polish-Romanian friendship and connections that have been established through this marvelous event organized by my colleagues from the Communication Unit and the Europe Direct Center here in Bucharest. So dziękuję and mulțumesc for being present here today. Adela, you have the floor.
Thank you, Eliza, and thank you all for your presence and active participation in today's event. The perspectives shared today have shown once again how important it is to listen to the voice of young people when sharing the future of the European Union. Your ideas, questions, and reflections remind us that the EU is not just a political or institutional project, it is a shared space of values, aspirations, and responsibilities. We are especially grateful to our partners from EUROPE DIRECT Gdansk and Civitas University for their collaboration, and to all the speakers and participants who contributed to today's dialogue. Let us continue to work together across borders, institutions, and generations to build a more united, democratic, and inclusive Europe. Don't take for granted the EU membership. European values must be defended. Until next time, stay engaged, stay informed, and stay connected. Thank you and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.